My name is Daniel Carter. I'm 27 years old, originally from Dallas, Texas, but I've been living in Denver, Colorado for the past 3 years. I've always loved the outdoors, hiking, fishing, camping, you name it. So when my best friend Max suggested a camping trip to Yellowstone National Park, I was all in. There were 4 of us. Me, Max, his girlfriend Sarah, and our friend Jason. We'd been planning this trip for weeks, and finally, in mid-September, we set out for what we thought would be an unforgettable adventure. We arrived at the park in the late afternoon. The drive through Wyoming was beautiful, the kind of scenery that makes you forget everything else. The air was crisp, the sky clear. It was perfect camping weather. We set up camp in a remote spot we'd reserved in advance. It was far enough from the main tourist areas to feel secluded, but still close enough to a trailhead in case we wanted to do some hiking. The first night was great. We built a campfire, roasted marshmallows, and shared a few laughs. We talked about work, life, and our plans for the future. It was peaceful, almost too perfect. I remember looking up at the stars that night, feeling a strange sense of calm that I hadn't felt in a long time. The next day, we hiked to a nearby waterfall. The trail was rugged but manageable. We took pictures, splashed around in the water, and just enjoyed being away from everything. On the way back, though, something weird happened. We were almost back at our campsite when Jason pointed out something strange. A small clearing off the trail, where it looked like someone had set up a campfire recently. There was a circle of blackened stones, some half-burnt logs, and most disturbing, bones scattered around. They looked like animal bones, but it was hard to tell in the fading light. Probably just some hunters, Max said, shrugging it off. But something about it felt off to me. Why would anyone set up a campfire here, so close to the trail, and leave it like that? We decided to head back to our campsite. I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling as we made dinner and tried to relax. The wind was picking up, rustling the trees, making strange noises in the darkness beyond the firelight. I remember Sarah laughing nervously, saying, "It's just the wind, right?" But I could tell she was spooked too. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing noises, branches snapping, leaves crunching. I told myself it was just animals, maybe a deer or a raccoon, but deep down, I knew it was more than that. Around 2 a.m., I heard something that made my blood run cold. The distinct sound of footsteps, heavy and deliberate, just beyond the edge of our campsite. I lay still, holding my breath, listening. The footsteps stopped, then started again, moving closer. I slowly sat up and looked around. The fire had burned down to embers, casting just enough light to see shadows moving between the trees. I thought I was imagining things until I saw it, a figure, tall and thin, standing just beyond the circle of light. I couldn't see its face, but I knew it was watching us. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought it would wake the others. I reached over and shook Max awake. "There's someone out there," I whispered. He sat up, blinking in confusion, then froze when he saw the figure too. "Hey, who's there?" he called out, his voice shaking. The figure didn't move, just stood there, staring. I grabbed the flashlight and shone it towards the trees, but by the time the light hit the spot, the figure was gone. "What the hell was that?" Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. None of us had an answer. We stayed up the rest of the night, huddled around the fire, listening, but the footsteps didn't come back. The next morning, we packed up and decided to cut our trip short. None of us said it out loud, but we all felt it. Something was wrong. As we were leaving, I glanced back at the campsite one last time. That's when I saw it. Hanging from a tree, right where the figure had been standing, was something small and white, swaying gently in the breeze. I walked over, my heart in my throat. It was a bone, small and delicate, like a finger or a toe tied to a piece of twine. Beneath it, scratched into the bark of the tree, was a single word, "Leave Eve." We didn't need any more convincing. We practically ran back to the car, drove out of the park, and didn't stop until we were miles away. Even now, weeks later, I can't shake the feeling that we were being watched that night, that whatever was out there wasn't just some camper or a curious animal. I don't know what we saw, or who, or what left that message. But one thing's for sure, I'm never going back to Yellowstone.